dry gulches swerved deep below the monolithic cliffs of Kingdom Valley. Long ago, the gulches had been filled with rushing streams, or so Silver the Hedgehog had been told. He walked along the edge of the empty rivers, trying but failing to imagine the landscape as anything other than dead and barren. The air was still, as if holding its breath in anticipation of the arrival of the demon god, Iblis, who held dominion over the entire planet with his hellfire. The cliffs looked down upon Silver, judging him like ancient stone monuments to merciless gods. A feeling not dissimilar to that of the brittle skyscrapers back home. But unlike this desolate valley, people dwelled in the city, dwelling, though not truly living. None could say why they stayed there. The city was no more or less safe than anywhere else from Iblis's flames. Perhaps the structures reminded them of an age when civilization once thrived. Perhaps sometimes people pretended they were living in those days, nostalgic for a distant time they never experienced for themselves. But not Silver. He simply couldn't imagine what the old world was like. He just stayed where everyone else did. The cracked earth beneath Silver's boots brought his attention to his dry lips, compelling him to take the canteen strapped to his belt and steady down a sip of precious water. The heavy sizzle in the air made Silver nauseous. He ran a hand through the white quills on the back of his head and continued his journey across rocky terrain. Smaller cliffs and gulches formed miniature canyons within the valley, obstructing the view of his destination, the old Soleanna castle. The area around the castle radiated a cold, bone-chilling energy that was different from the hot, oppressive Iblis energy felt all over the world. But earlier that day, something similar to Iblis energy had spiked from the castle, mingling with the cold in a shrill dance, like a thunderstorm. It had drawn Silver away from the illusory security of the city, out to the lonely valley where none but the rare vagabond roamed. Silver was more sensitive to local shifts in energy than anyone he knew. He wondered if it was an ability related to the psychokinetic powers that only he possessed. He traveled alone today, so as not to expose his friends to a possible new danger. In the event of an attack, Silver would constantly stress about their safety and become so overwhelmed he would lose the ability to fight with complete focus, leading to everyone's demise. As much as he was terrified of being alone, the burden of allowing others to come to harm was unthinkable. As far as the others were concerned, he'd left to gather water and food from the underground Soleanna laboratory that brimmed with massive aquariums, unmolested by the hellfire on the surface. People had previously tried staying in the laboratory. It was cool, quiet, and a source of sustenance with its water and fish. But the raw evil lurking in that place was so potent, even those not sensitive to these energies had been driven to insanity from prolonged exposure. The rocks beneath Silver's gloves and boots sizzled as he climbed a short rocky cliff. He was careful not to let the hot rocks make contact with his fur. He reached the top. His lungs burned as he gazed upon the arid lake bed below. It stretched for miles, exposing a hive of metal tunnels and brutalistic buildings that would have been hidden by the lake some 2 centuries ago. The new Iblis-like energy scurried deep within. Silver could feel its presence shifting as it moved through the lab. The old castle overlooked the lake bed from the edge of a plateau, connected to the lab by elevators hidden within the sheer wall of rock. Silver made his way to the castle's entrance. An ornate golden pattern adorned the doorframe with a symbol portraying a phoenix. The firebird reached for a ball of what Silver assumed to be a holy light, the symbol of Solaris, the sun god worshipped by those who once called this wasteland their home, Soleanna. Even this primitive stone castle had stood the test of time of over 2 centuries, just as the later metal and concrete ones had, a testament to past civilizations' ingenuity, feats of which those alive today would never achieve, not as long as Iblis held dominion. The air turned cold once Silver passed the threshold into the castle. It would have been comforting if it hadn't put a pit in his stomach, seeping into his pores like a venom. The elevators still functioned thanks to the lab's use of geothermal power, a natural resource the planet had no shortage of. Silver wiped a thick layer of dust from the elevator's panel as he pushed a button for the deepest level of the lab. It whirred to life with a heavy rumble. The pit in his stomach deepened as the elevator descended further into the cold dark. It lightly rocked to a stop, and the door opened to a long, colorless metal hall. Small fluorescent eyes in the walls watched Silver with their ancient knowledge, having seen things and people he could never imagine. The ceiling stretched high like a metal cathedral, a shrine to an evil that had quietly bargained with any soul brave enough to enter its home. The cost of the lab's fish and water was one's own sanity, from which the evil fed. The halls echoed Silver's footsteps, and faint whispers among the shadows encroached on him like a slow rot, whispering to Silver his darkest thoughts. Weak. Coward. Your time will remain the same forever. Powerless. Pathetic. A colossal door sharply screamed as it split apart for Silver, drawing him deeper into the noxious space. He came to a tall, round room with a massive metal cylinder in the middle, encircled by platforms against the wall. Doors on the platforms led to other branches of the lab. A harsh ray of light drew Silver's eyes far up to a jagged rupture in the ceiling, exposing the outside world and warming the cold room. The new Iblis-like energy was now closer than ever, approaching Silver. He clenched his fists as a low grumble vibrated off the walls. Orange light stretched from behind the metal cylinder. A pair of rocky mandibles peered out, dripping magma like globs of saliva. The creature crawled with short insect limbs, its stomach close to the wall. When it wrapped around the front, revealing its sheer length, a bus would have been compact in comparison. "Bring it on, scum," he said. "I can take you." Nearly a dozen warm glows emanated from behind the cylinder. More centipede monsters crept along the wall. Silver started to sweat and lose feeling in his limbs. He was confident in his ability to use his superior intelligence to carefully exhaust and overpower one monster. But this many at once, this was a death sentence. Silver retreated to the door behind him. Then multiple shrieks above stopped him. The glowing green eyes of a flock of winged magma monsters screeched and flapped their wings aggressively, blasting Silver with waves of heat. He toppled to a knee, shielding his face with one hand. He squinted at the hole in the ceiling across the room. Despite years of practicing psychokinetic-induced flight, his confidence in outpacing the winged monsters was low, and yet it was his only option. Silver imagined himself flying fast and straight through the hole. He manifested that feeling across his entire body, then shot off the ground and felt fast as a bullet. After a mere few seconds, however, he stumbled and rolled in the air, slowing to almost a stop. A screech pierced his ears as a winged monster charged him with its talons. He watched its trajectory and propelled himself to dodge as it attacked the air where he'd just been. Recalling the image of smooth, rapid flight, Silver shot toward the opening. He'd done it. Now he was flying straight and fast. He was close now. If he could make it to the open air, he could at least escape the terrestrial monsters, trimming the danger down to just the aerial ones. A screaming mouth of molten teeth appeared over the hole and jumped at him. The canine-like monster's flat paws pressed into Silver's shoulders, and they crashed into a platform on the huge cylinder. The canine rolled off Silver and shook its horned head. His skull rattled, and his ears rang as the monsters roared. Through blurred vision, He saw the huge centipedes creeping up the platform. Their hot, sharp mandibles chomped over tunnel-like mouths with rows of small teeth. Green blurs ascended into view as the eyes of the winged monsters stared at him. Silver slid against the wall to stand. The whispers of the lab grew stronger, mixing with the shrill cries of the monsters. Die here, worthless. They die. The past is the eternal flame. A small yet powerful vortex of fire rushed through the winged monsters. The green light in their eyes faded as they slammed to the ground. The vortex stopped on a platform across from Silver. As the centipedes turned their heads, a light purple figure stood briefly, before returning to fire and ripping through the air toward a centipede to Silver's right. The arthropod's head exploded into volcanic gore. The fire vortex bounded from centipede to centipede all around Silver, blasting each one into smoldering hamburger. Silver shielded his head from the debris as the canine monster roared. He heard another explosion. Then, the only sound remaining was that of fire splitting air. Even the whispers had been silenced. Silver dropped his arms to see the vortex escaping to the shadows of a ledge above a door. The fire faded. Then, fierce, golden thin eyes pierced the dark. The gaze penetrated Silver's heart.
You there, state your name,
the figure said. Her commanding tone dominated the entire space. Silver wetted his dry lips with a trembling tongue, but tried matching her intensity.
What? Who are you?
He said.
Tell me now! Are you a minion of Iblis?
I asked first, Hedgehog,
she said.
Haven't you any idea who I am?
The figure, for as briefly as he'd seen her before, appeared small and intelligent, like a person. Silver would have liked to consider her a friend, but there was no denying what he felt from her. That new Iblis-like energy had been emanating from her. He needed another look at her to be sure what he had really seen was a person.
Not if you keep hiding in the shadows like that,
he said.
Come out where I can see you.
The golden eyes dimmed as she stepped into the light below the ruptured ceiling. She was a cat with light purple fur, dressed in a darker purple tailcoat uniform with light crimson trim and a gold collar. Her style was elegant, but practical and flexible. Fluffy cuffs surrounded her wrists and ankles, over white gloves and red boots. The crimson gem on her forehead glistened beneath the light, along with the red band around her high, pointed crown of hair. The cat raised her brows expectantly, peering down at Silver like he was an insect. For a moment, he had forgotten about her Iblis energy, feeling as if he were in the presence of someone who deserved respect.
I'm Silver,
he said, enraptured by her commanding presence. He took a quick breath, then squinted his eyes, trying to regain his own will.
And no, I don't know who you are.
His eyes darted, but they remained locked on her general vicinity as he tried figuring out who this cat was.
What are you doing down here?
He asked.
Are you a vagabond? How can you stand the...
Silver rubbed his arms as he remembered the chilling whispers.
The voices,
the cat said, her voice suddenly low, nearly inaudible across the distance. Now she sounded less aggressive, less composed. She cleared her throat, straightened her stance, and swiftly dropped to the platform below her. Then she leapt the gap between them, joining Silver on his platform. The cat's composure returned, but the intensity had subsided, and she now spoke like a stern but caring mother.
I am Blaze,
she said proudly.
Crown Princess of the Soul Empire.
Blaze's gaze maintained an air of caution, but now there was curiosity within her eyes. She looked through the opening in the ceiling. The black sky clouded her golden eyes. Her shoulders slightly drooped.
This isn't my home, is it?
She asked.
You said Soul Empire?
Silver asked, tilting his head.
Does that have something to do with Solaris?
Blaze blinked fast and frowned, as if ashamed to have shown weakness. She lifted her chin, and all emotion vanished from her face as she clasped her hands behind her back.
I know not what you speak of,
she said.
More importantly, what is this hellscape I found myself in?
Although she generally carried herself with an intimidating aura, deep down there was a vulnerability, an insecurity, a loneliness. Years ago, Silver had realized he possessed a surreal ability to almost feel what others were feeling, even if he hardly knew them. A sort of empathic sensitivity. He had also learned to be careful, not to let his biases fill in the gaps, causing him to misread people.
Well, this is Soleanna,
he said, then shrugged his shoulders.
What's left of it anyway?
Blaze's long lashes twitched with her eyelids.
You really don't know where you are? Where did you come from anyway?
Silver asked. Blaze cocked her head slightly, as if struck with a realization.
This has happened before,
she murmured to herself.
Huh?
Silver said.
Tell me, Silver, does the term Chaos Emerald mean anything to you?
Sorry, doesn't ring any bells,
he said. Blaze tapped her foot on the ground once, as if to signal she was about to move her legs.
Well then,
she said.
If you have no more information for me, I shall be on my way.
The cat leapt back to the other platform and crouched, ready to leap to the hole in the ceiling. The strong, confident Blaze was leaving. The one who had just saved Silver's life. The one who possessed a power similar to that of Iblis. Maybe she could, he thought.
Wait!
Silver shouted with an outstretched hand.
Please, just wait.
Blaze's chest rose and fell deeply. She stood still, as if frozen.
What?
she said, with the faintest tremble that Silver might have only imagined.
That power you wield,
he said.
The way you fight. I think you could help me become stronger, to defeat Iblis.
Blaze swiftly clenched, then unclenched her hands. She stared at the black sky once more, then looked straight ahead at the wall with a dejected sigh.
I'm sorry. I cannot help you.
She adjusted her voice once again, regaining her composure. She finally looked at Silver.
I need to find a way back to my own world. The Soul Emeralds... Something happened to them. They didn't travel to this dimension with me. I can't even sense them. I must harness this world's equivalent of the emeralds if I am to have any hope of returning.
Silver rubbed the back of his neck.
I'm not really sure I understand,
he said.
But I know my way around here.
He could feel his eyes widen as a realization struck him. He'd just found a possible excuse for her to stay.
What if I help you find the emeralds, and you teach me to fight like you do?
Perhaps he imagined something again, but Blaze's eyes seemed to soften more than he'd seen from her thus far. She too seemed to have thought deeply about something, presented with an opportunity herself.
Very well. It appears that I'm short on options anyway.
It wasn't his imagination this time. Her tone was now lighter than ever.
Great!
Silver said, with a crack in his voice. He cleared his throat and nervously chuckled.
Well then, I'll take you back to the city. Maybe someone else knows something about your emeralds.
Silver used his telekinesis to slowly descend to the ground. Blaze elegantly descended, with the sputter of soft flames from her soles and palms. When she landed, she nodded at him with a neutral expression. Other than the root cause of the current state of the world, this cat was the most mysterious and confusing thing Silver had ever encountered. She endeared him with the hints of vulnerability he had sensed from her, and her confident, strong, yet courteous demeanor. But she also made him uneasy. There was an unmistakable connection to Iblis within Blaze, whether she realized it or not. Silver gestured with his hands toward the door he'd entered from, allowing her to walk ahead of him.
Best way to keep an eye on her,
he thought.
Can't be too careful.
What is it with hedgehogs anyway?
Blaze said. catching him off guard as she passed him with a smirk.
So naive.
Deep within the cold embrace of the shadows, he had been watching the silver hedgehog and purple cat. To become whole again, he needed to orchestrate and relocate pieces of the past, present, and future, like invasive species bringing ruin to healthy land. These gullible, foolish hedgehogs from across time and space were the key to everything. Mephiles the Dark quietly chuckled to himself in amusement. So naive, indeed.